Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Yael Kazaz. I'm a product specialist at Google. I work with our top partners to help them best grow and monetize their businesses. I specialize in app monetization based out of the Dublin office, which is Google's EMEA headquarters. So the publishers I work with would be from those areas. A little background, I'm a computer engineer. Before joining Google, I worked as a software developer. And today I'd like to talk with you about how to monetize your app. Or to be more specific, how to monetize it well and how to do it right. So let's get started. Let's take Robert as an example. Robert, like many of you here today, is also an app developer. But before he started living the high-paced city life, Robert grew up in a farm in the countryside, always enjoyed nature, animals, and don't ask me why. He always enjoyed pigs. He loved feeding them, taking care of them. And I don't know, he always seemed to think they were cute. Weird, right? And as he grew older, he, like I mentioned, left the countryside, moved into the city, and became an app developer. And he always missed that. So one day he had a really fantastic idea. Why not create an app? He already knows how to do it. That's all about pigs that he loves, taking care of your pig, feeding it, and everything. Turns out, believe it or not, this app became a really big success. Many people downloaded it, used it, and he was very happy. However, connecting back to the farm life and nature and pigs wasn't the only reason behind creating this app. He wanted to make money, obviously. And he wanted to monetize his app. He didn't know really how to do it, what strategy should he pick. And he was considering ad monetization as well, on top of other types of monetizations. But there were a few concerns around that. He heard all kinds of myths and stories, and he didn't know what was true, what was not. And as you know, his users already liked his app. He didn't want to ruin what was working. So we'll help tackle that. Another thing that was concerning to him is, like I said, his users were happy now. And he didn't want to introduce a format that might bring him a lot of money, but make them unhappy with the experience. Another thing that was very important is the engagement, the retention. He didn't want to have users using his game, his utility app, or anything, and then leaving it faster than they would have left it without ads. So we'll see a few formats that can help us with that as well. And then last, after he has his entire business model ready and up and running, everything is prepared, he wants to make sure that he's constantly doing everything that he can to make the most out of his revenue potential. So let's start with a few kind of urban legends. We hear a lot from our publishers that maybe they shouldn't use advertisements in their app for various reasons. And they think, okay, my app is successful. I'll try the format of pay at the point of download. If that doesn't go very well because people don't really want to pay for the app, I'll try maybe a subscription model in-app purchases. If all else fails, okay, I'll give ads a try. But let's see how maybe that's not the best idea. One myth, monetization bothers users. Really? Let's see. Most of the apps and app stores today, and when I say most, I mean most, 85%, are actually free. From the user side, out of all of the apps that you have in app stores, less than 1% of all downloaded apps are actually paid, which means that over 99% of the apps that users choose to download are free. This leads us to believe and understand that users understand. They're okay with it. They understand that if their app will be free, whoever created the app is obviously still going to make money somehow, and ads is an okay format to do it. Now, the secret here, and I'll tell you right now what the secret is, but we'll see how to do it later, the secret is to do it right. If you add ads to your app without really thinking it through, okay, you might be hurting your users. But as long as you're paying attention and making sure that it fits your existing app, there's no reason in the world for it to ever hurt your users, and it can only get them even more engaged than they currently are. We've seen cases of publishers that added ads to their existing app. And the amazing thing happened is they didn't lose any users, but they actually increased their overall app traffic. Not even mentioning numbers or revenue, which obviously grew, but they actually got more traffic into their app, which is amazing. It actually means that it's not just that this myth is not true, it's actually the opposite is true. Another big myth, ad monetization doesn't pay. Really? Over the past 3 years, AdMob alone, which is a small part of Google, paid over $1 billion to app developers. Let's see, $80,000. Does that sound like a lot of money as a monthly revenue stream from ads? Does it? For some, it might sound like a lot. For others, it might sound like not so much money. For me, it sounds like a lot of money. It's a nice amount to have, especially if it's on top of an existing monetization that you have. To get this amount of $80,000 on average, you need to have one app, which is a nice app, a very nice app. That app has to have about, let's say, 100,000 daily active users, and you need to have one ad in it. So it's not crazy. You're not bombing your users. You're not ruining the user experience, and you're making this amount of money. Another myth, monetizing with in-app purchases is the best strategy. This is not to say that it's not a good strategy and you should strip it out of your app. No, it's okay, but the fact is most of your users, and again, when I say most, I mean most, and over 96% of your users will actually not engage in in-app purchasing at all. So it's fine that you have that option for your users, but most of them will actually never pay. And of all of those rest, those 96% of your users, you're basically not offering them any other options to monetize your app. The best way to go would be to take your existing in-app purchases that you have that are working for you, combine them as a hybrid model together with ads, for example, and just increase your overall revenue. We'll see a few examples of how we have publishers that added ads on top of their in-app purchase, experienced absolutely no reduction in their current revenue stream, and their overall revenue stream increased, and the surprising thing, their in-app purchases increased as a result of the ads. It's amazing, and we'll see it shortly. This brings us to our fourth and last myth, that you should only choose one monetization strategy. Now, again, this is not a holistic solution. You're not considering all the options that are right for your app and for your users. Combining a few different models together would bring you the optimal CPMs and revenues. Okay, now we've discussed a little bit about myths and what's true, what's not, and we all understand that adding ads to your app might be a very good idea. But let's see how we can make sure that our users are still happy. So like we said, Robert, his users are happy. They currently enjoy his app. Why would he put an ad that doesn't belong there? With native ads, you can get just that. Let's see, what are native ads? When your ad is not a native ad, it's just a regular ad that you think of when you think of ads. It's basically an ad that was created by the advertiser. It's taken as is and put inside your app or your website or anywhere. A native ad is the exact same ad, but we take it apart piece by piece, similarly to how they would do in an auto shop, for example, and then you put them back together. But when you do that, you give them the look and feel of your app. So you take the header, the body, image, the ad attribution, every single part of the ad, and give it the look and feel of your own app. We see here a few really great examples, and if I'm being honest, each time I see a new example of a native ad, it takes me a few seconds until my eyes can actually focus and find the ads itself. Now, that's not to say it's misleading in any way, because it's very clear. There's always the ad attribution, so on that end, it's fine, but it just shows you how much it belongs and goes with the look and feel of your app. Pretty Simple's Criminal Case did a really nice thing. They combined native ads with their existing in-app purchase models, which goes back to exactly what we were discussing in the myth part. And I'm sure that for you guys, it took a second until you could actually find the ad, right? So it's right there at the bottom, and there's the ad icon as well, but it's not disruptive at all. And the amazing thing was that they experienced a total uplift in revenue. Didn't hurt the existing revenue stream that they had, but they just started to make some more money. We were also discussing about how Robert didn't want to lose any users, right? So his users were highly engaged and feeding their animal and everything. And why would he want to kind of chase them off? With rewarded ads, you can actually increase the user engagement. What are rewarded ads? So a rewarded ad is an ad that a user chooses to watch. So at a certain point in time, when he decides, he clicks on the option to watch a video. When he completes this video, then he's received the reward. It can be any type of currency that you have in your app, such as coins or gold or an extra life if your player ran out. So let's see an example. Your game is over. You don't have any more lives left. You're welcome to watch a rewarded video, and then if you complete the video, you can continue playing. This is one use case, one way to do it. Another way would be just out of the main menu to give you an option to watch a rewarded video, and then you get, again, extra currency or something like that. What's good about rewarded ads is that it's good for everyone. It's good for the entire ecosystem. Now, here at Google, each time we come out with a new feature, a new product, anything, the first thing that we think of, even before starting to develop it, is one thing. Is it good for everyone? For the advertisers, for the publishers, and most importantly, of course, for the users. If it's good only for some of these parties, only for the advertisers, only for the publishers, or a combination of both, we wouldn't do it. It's not sustainable. It wouldn't stick. For the advertisers, of course they love rewarded ads. They know that who's ever watching their ad now chose to do it. No resentment. It's not disruptive. They wanted to see the ad itself right now. So that's great. For the publishers, they love it as well. High CPMs, great value, increasing the retention of the users. And when we think about the users, something really funny happens. We had publishers coming to us after they experiment. The really big thing we recommend, and we'll touch that as well, as testing. And they tested rewarded ads, and at a certain point took them out to compare. And they started getting really angry emails from their users saying, hey, why did you take out the rewarded ads? I don't have the option of continuing to play. And this is really funny in my opinion because it's such a clear example of how users are, again, they're okay with ads. They're really fine with it. And this entire ecosystem of advertisers, publishers, and users, together with rewarded ads, benefits everyone. This is a nice example of one of our publishers, Pooh. He historically only had in-app purchases and a nice banner. Using only one banner, which doesn't sound like something that might actually make you that much money, and together with in-app purchases, he made in one day approximately what I make in 1 month, which is, not bad. And he, of course, like everyone, didn't want to hurt his current revenue stream, but he tried out rewarded ads. And what happened is that he started making in one day what I make in 2 months, which is even nicer. And here, let's take a very close look at what Traffic Rider did. This is an extremely good example of how you should put a lot of thought on how to implement a rewarded ad in such a way that it will not hurt your in-app purchases, and we'll even see how it increased his engagement and in-app purchases. Sounds amazing, right? Adding ads, which you would think would take off in-app purchases, added the amount of users that it would engage in in-app purchases. So let's take a look. You have the option in the main menu to select the little green present thing, and one of the options would be watching a video. You don't have this for unlimited amount of appearances, but you do have the option. But what's more interesting is what happens in the game itself. You play the game. At a certain point, you run out of time. So you have two options if you want to continue to play. One would be to watch a rewarded video. The other would be to pay 1 gold coin. Now, this gold coin, you can get it by, we saw like rewarded videos or different ways, but there's a limit. So if you want to, you have to in-app purchase. So this is basically in-app purchase the other way. Now, here you might think, okay, but this is hurting in-app purchases. Of course, the user would prefer to watch a video than pay. But let's take a look. Okay, the user decided to watch a video, but then he continues to play, and then time runs out again. This time, he doesn't have the option of watching a rewarded video. This time, he can only in-app purchase. Now let's go back one step. Here, this is the spot where you would have lost your 96% of your users. We discussed this. We said most of your users will not engage in in-app purchases. It's a fact. So, okay, you had 3.6% of users that would pay at this point, and now they're not going to. But those users that were going to pay before, they're going to pay now, and they're going to pay more. But those 96% of the users that you would have lost already by this point, now they're hooked. Now they're in the game even more. And I'm not saying that all of them would pay, but you know what? Some of them would. And they wouldn't have before. And we're talking about a cut out of 96%, not a cut out of 3.6%. So this is substantial. And with this really smart model and way to do it, he was able to get an amazing revenue stream taken out of rewarded ads together with his existing in-app purchases. Now, we decided, okay, we believe you, ads work, okay. But how can we make sure that we're still doing everything in Empower to maximize the revenue stream? Our users are different. You know this. They're not all the same. They're from different backgrounds, different interests. There's no reason in the world why they would engage in your app in the same way. Some are more casual, some are more, heavy duty, playing all the time. Some are big spenders, some are not. Knowing this information, or being able to know this information and ignoring it makes no sense. Why wouldn't you take into account this really useful piece of the puzzle to help you understand your users, and then you can understand, okay, this is how I should monetize. If you take your users and then you can classify them into different audiences, and in the next session after me, Sivan will be talking about Firebase, which is Google's solution. One of the solutions in Firebase is analytics, and you can do it with Firebase as well. And you decide, okay, which type of audience do I want? And you can do it in a million and one ways. 3 examples here: reached a certain level, average time play, and is he a spender, is he not, which it goes back to what we discussed in terms of in-app purchases and ads. Once you segment your users in a smart way, you know how you should target them. With ads, without ads, a combination at a later stage. A classic example, again, in-app purchases against ads. You can, unlike the example of Sonar Kara and Traffic Rider, where there was no classification of users, it was more of when to show the in-app purchase, when to show the rewarded ads. Here, it's a matter of taking the users, all of them, identifying them, classifying them, and targeting them. We have a really interesting example of Lunasoft, one of Google's partners, who ran a test number 1, which is not so interesting. They took 145,000 impressions, no ads at all, and just split them randomly. They didn't segment their users, so they didn't know which was interested in in-app purchases and who wasn't. And we already know that 96% of the users are not interested in in-app purchases, so it's not surprising to see that they only made $107 out of 145,000 impressions. Now, the interesting part is test number 2. They took those impressions but decided, okay, we'll still show in-app purchases, but this time we won't just spread it around randomly and hope to hit a few. We'll target only those users that we believe to be with the potential to be spenders. That turned out to be 6,000 impressions. With those 6,000 impressions, they made more money than they made with 145,000 impressions. So this means that with 20 times less impressions, they made more money. And we're not even talking about ads yet. This is just in-app purchases. So you have these remaining 139,000 impressions that you're not going to use for in-app purchases because you know it's a waste. You target those other users with ads, and bam, another 500% growth. So basically, taking the right users, giving them the right type of ads, and then the other users, giving them those other right type of ads, will maximize your revenue potential. This is just free money. Another important thing to do is to have it in mind from the very beginning. You know, when you create an app, and you know this, you wouldn't just start coding. Okay, let's just do it. No, you sit down with a pen and paper and start designing it. What features do I want to have in my app? What will they look like? What levels? Everything. You think about it very meticulously. So why would you do all that and then just try to budge in an extra layer that doesn't fit in, that doesn't even have room in your app. It makes no sense. We have publishers coming to us that their existing monetization model didn't include ads at all. And they wanted to add ads. For instance, they had to pay to download, and it wasn't working very well, and they wanted to have ads. Some of them were very lucky. So some of them were fortunate enough that we can just sit with them and say, great, we're glad to have you. You're a very big company. Let's add reward ads here, here, and here. This is a really good way to implement it. But others weren't so lucky. We were sitting with them and basically saying, listen, there's no way to put rewarded ads here. It's not built for that. And they basically had to put changes, add things, update their app in order to find room for their ads. If you have it in mind from the very beginning, you don't have to do that. It's a part of your app. And like we saw before, it can increase the engagement of your overall app. It can bring you more users. And you can make sure that you're designing it in the way that you want to design it, and you're not basically forcing yourself to put something in there that doesn't work. And last, testing. Testing is extremely important. If you're not testing, you don't know what you're doing. You think about what you personally like. So let's say I never click on ads. I only engage in in-app purchases. So I really think in-app purchases is the way to go. Or the other way around, I never pay, I only click on ads, or you know what, neither. But you're not representing anybody. You're just representing yourself. Your personal hobbies and your personal opinions are not relevant here. You have to test what everyone else thinks as well. You're not the only one that uses your app. And only by testing different different frequency caps, different designs, you would be surprised, and this sounds really insignificant, but you would be surprised how just changing the background color of an ad changes the entire engagement of the user with your app. It sounds really, again, it sounds like why would they care if it's blue or green, but apparently they do. We've seen publishers that just by changing the existing placement of an ad, and I'm talking about not adding any ads, not changing the format, not changing the look and feel, nothing. Just changing the location of an existing ad, they increase their entire revenue stream 10 times. This is amazing. This is literally free money. And you would have no way of knowing this ahead of time. You're not a magician, you're not a prophet. How would you know that putting a banner at the top and not at the bottom, or in the second screen and not on the third one, would make you more money? Now, there are places where you know this. It's pretty obvious that less users would go here and there. So there are things that your kind of gut feeling would lead you there. But for most things, without testing, you can't know. So please, A/B test everything. And before we finish, just please keep in mind that app monetization works. There is money there. You just need to kind of grab and take it. But you need to do it right, meaning you need to pick the right ad type. You need to place it right, implement it correctly, and test everything. And most importantly, understand your users. Know them, target them, and then you can maximize your revenue potential. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'll be over there. Thank you.